Magic lantern. To understand how we got here, we have to start from the source. And that source is Trammell Hudson.
I'm Trammell Hudson, creator of the Magic Lantern firmware for the Canon 5D Mark II camera.
So we've got a couple of 5D Mark IIs here today. Now this camera shoots video, but there are other cameras, other DSLRs, that shoot HD video as well. Why did you pick this camera to work on?
Well, it's the least expensive full-frame digital still camera and the only full-frame video camera that shoots 1080p video. And like everyone else, I saw Reverie by Vincent Lefort and was just blown away by the possibilities of this revolutionary camera that Canon had released.
So you got the camera, you started shooting with it. What happened?
Well, we shot a bunch of short films, and we ran into some limitations of the camera with the early firmware. As you might remember, there was no control over the aperture, the ISO, or the shutter speed during video filming. So we had to do crazy things like shoot entire movies with the lenses twisted halfway off the camera. I thought the camera could do better, so I got a firmware dump out of the camera and reverse engineered the audio portion. And once I had that understanding of how the camera worked, I had to keep going. And the end result, though it's still in the process, is the Magic Lantern firmware for the Canon 5D.
So while everybody else was complaining, you actually went to your computer and fixed it, somehow did something about it.
When Hudson ceased developing Magic Lantern, the torch was handed over to Alex and a few other talented developers, until we ended up with the infamous Dan build, which was named after its developer, Dan. It was with the Dan builds where myself and many other aspiring filmmakers discovered Magic Lantern, which I used to shoot a wedding on my first ever paid job. It was a frightening prospect, but with the ML community behind me, I was certain I'd be okay. The ML community on Facebook is a very mixed group, but one of the best, most supportive groups you'll find anywhere on the net. It comprises of beginners such as Vietinghoff, who travels the world capturing beauty of various locations. Paul Scott, an extremely knowledgeable, resourceful, professional graphic designer responsible for the new Magic Lantern logo. To expert colorist Sergio, who has the most in-depth color grading tutorials for Magic Lantern Raw. The group has a strong set of family values, and the no-nonsense admin, Neil and Mark, make sure it's a safe place whether you're a beginner or professional. But the best part about the group is the talent. Nooel is a prime example of what can be achieved with Magic Lantern and very little equipment if you have the ability to think outside the box. And there's plenty of examples to be found on YouTube from big and small creators. Let's meet one of them now. Hey, Nigel.
Hi, Cole.
How you doing, bro? Yeah, Nigel, can you tell us why you've come back to Magic Lantern? Because you used to use it a long time ago and you've recently come back. So can you explain your reasons for coming back and what you think about it?
So I had the Eos-M probably about 10 years ago, and the main reasons why I liked it was the price. It was still pretty affordable even back then. The portability, it's a really nice small camera. It has a super 35mm sensor, the same one that you would find in like a T4i, and you could hack it with Magic Lantern. Because this camera was so small and inexpensive, it made it the perfect travel camera for me. I took this with me to Italy, Spain, and Brazil, and it was just a perfect little camera to always have. And I got some of my favorite images because of this camera. Because it was so inexpensive, if it did break or maybe got stolen, it wasn't like it was going to be a huge loss for me. But back then, the image quality of this camera really wasn't anything to write home about. It was still that soft 1080p that you came to expect from the cheaper Canon DSLRs. And even though you could hack this camera with Magic Lantern, I mostly used the Magic Lantern hack to give me things like focus peaking and zebras, which you didn't get on the stock Canon firmware. But you fast forward to today, and there are creators like Zeke, Cole from IMCE, Callan from Lumengate Media, and they put out so much information about how you can maximize the potential on this little camera. Not to mention the Facebook group, which just has a plethora of information on how you can get started shooting great video on this little camera. And that was the main reason why I decided to pick it up again 10 years later. And it's just so crazy to me how good of an image you can get shooting raw on this little Eos-M. And it really is all thanks to the people behind Magic Lantern and the community that surrounds it.
Thanks, Nigel, and congrats on your recent pickup, and I hope to see a lot more from you in 2024. So I agree with Nigel. All the wonderful work that the devs have been doing is groundbreaking for such an old camera. The recent release of Crop Mood by Syrian-based developer Bilal Fakouri is a huge step in making Magic Lantern more reliable and stable than previous versions, with many users having great success on cameras that supported it. Talking of success, let's meet another creator who used the Eos-M to advance his career in film that led him to work with a current Hollywood A-list actor. AJ, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. So thank you for joining me for this documentary, because I think it's going to be, you know, something really good for Canon Eos-M users and people who don't even actually shoot on the Eos-M as well. And as a long-time veteran like yourself, you know, it's good to get your feedback on this camera.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something quickly first, that my thoughts about cinematography and being successful in cinematography have changed a lot over the last few months. And the way I think about being, just being successful. Now, I know you don't really do the social media much, but with your Shoot From The Hip improv group, you have over 1 million followers now.
Yeah.
You know, you've shot some really epic stuff over the years on Eos-M, but you also shoot on, you know, Aries and stuff like that when you do other projects.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have actually shot a film where Colin Farrell, A-list Hollywood actor, has loaned his voice.
That's right. That's right.
So can you just speak to me about, you know, the process of that? What was it like working with an A-lister?
I was very, very lucky. I've been trying to get, you know, films going for years, and it just happened to fall into the right person's hands, and this has never happened to me before. And then this person gave it to this person and this person, and suddenly I've got Colin Farrell like doing like a voiceover in my film, so it's amazing. And then of course, because of that, the budget came together, and so we had about, I think ultimately probably about 40 grand.
Wow.
40,000 pounds, which to me, like, I'm used to shooting films on 100 quid.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was some mad amount of money, and then it was like, got the Aries in with the Zeiss super speeds, and we got the crew and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember when and as I said, like, shooting it was amazing, but still, you know, there was just so much stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So much gear.
Yeah.
So much equipment. So many people.
Yeah.
And it did, in some ways, make me think a lot about what's about the EOS-M and just that world that I come from, where there's two of you, or there's three of you, or even one of you. You know, and it did make me miss that, and so that's why I ended up the film I did afterwards. I shot on the EOS-M.
Yeah.
So, any ex-partners you've had an experience with that this could be?
All my past relationships were fine, so nothing strange there.
Do you sleepwalk?
No, so not that I know of. I film myself.
Sorry?
Well, I film myself to check.
Oh yes, you said.
Coming to the Eos-M and Flower, I'm going to assume everyone loved it.
I think they did.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I know it's my own film, but
yeah.
like it's one of the few times, like sometimes when you like, I have times where I've watched my own film and I go, that's cool, but this and I'm fine, and it's like, okay, it's good, whatever. But this one I really enjoy. I know that sounds sort of self-indulgent, but I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's why I found it a success, because it was exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's good. I think that's the kind of success that we all should be aiming for. Really, it's not just so we put it online and it gets 6 million likes or whatever. Yeah. We need to have personal goals and feel like we've achieved something, even if only 2 people like it. We need to to be in that kind of space where we're happy with our work. So, but I mean, it's still an achievement. On the Eos-M, a lot of people talk about this camera, it's hard to use, you can't really do anything with it, it's bad in low light and all that kind of stuff, but you managed to pull off a movie and, what's it, 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, and have it and shown in the cinema.
Yeah, and it looked amazing.
That's insane.
It looked amazing in the cinema. Like I've had producers who I've said to them, like, oh, obviously, because there was a producer, I was like, obviously it's quite rough around the edges, and he was like, you keep saying that, but it looks like everything else to me. And like, as that, and to see that, it's shot in, obviously the EOS-M's 1080p, but then in MLV you upscale it to 4K.
Yeah.
And it looks amazing. And this is a big screen. I'm talking like a normal, like if you went to see any, like if you went to see Napoleon or something, it was like that size of a screen.
Amazing.
And it wasn't like, oh, look, it's bad quality. There was nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that would that let it down was my ability in lighting.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're on a small budget and it's really small crew. Sometimes you're shooting by yourself. Then there's going to be things that you would have wished you could. But sorry, go on, carry on.
No. I mean, I just love the EOS-M. I mean, I think very recently I've, for the first time, been able to get like one of those more kind of modern cameras, like a Sony FX30 and stuff.
Yeah.
And I can see why lots of people complain about the EOS-M, because I think essentially we're all so spoiled. With all the stuff that it can do.
Yeah.
But the EOS-M, it just has for me, it has a magic to it.
Yeah.
It has a sense of like, it's like driving a car in manual versus in automatic.
Yeah.
Like you have to learn all about exposure. I knew nothing about exposure, cameras, lenses, ISO.
You're not a DP,
no,
are you?
No.
You do normally scripts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you had to learn a lot.
So when I bought the EOS-M for £100, and then to be honest, it's now become my new passion. It's just like understanding cameras and lenses and exposure, and that's become a massive part of my filmmaking now, which I love. A certain image. That is that you can only, and there's a certain image that you can only get from the EOS-M. In my opinion, like a lot of the more modern cameras are very kind of clean, aesthetic, commercial image. That if you show to clients, they'll be like, "This looks good." But as filmmakers, sometimes you want something a bit different.
You want that texture. You want that kind of that feeling that it has. Which I do. I understand the Sony. You do have to massage it a lot more to get where you want. Yes, it's sharper. Yes. Well, that's all I can say, really. Well, maybe the autofocus. Other than that, you really have to massage it if you want to get it even close to where the EOS-M looks in terms of texture, in my opinion.
I completely agree in terms of the texture thing, because I feel so ironic that nowadays, like, we get these cameras that are so clean and sharp, and then we're putting a thing that's literally called dehancer.
Yeah.
Like, so it's making it worse. Making it worse.
Worse, yeah. Everyone's putting film blur,
Yeah,
and elation, trying to make everything look worse.
And that's because I think we love the imperfection of a film image. It's full of imperfections, or the grain, all that. But that's what's kind of nice about the EOS-M is that it does have its own imperfections. Like, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But then the way that it renders, like, color, and also what you can do in MLV with it, and that's not even like getting into like DaVinci with it. Yeah. So I just loved the sort of like inherent character of that camera. Yeah. And it was a pain. It does get grainy in low light, but like even the ones where it got really grainy, I've got neat video. Yeah. Okay, gone. Yeah. Looks. If you watch the film, there are lots of shots that was. I cannot tell you how noisy they were. Yeah. And you put something like neat video on it, gone. It's completely clean.
So many tools we can use now that we have to advantage. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so the key is, I think, is just like to capture something good from the get-go. Yeah. So then you can work with it later.
Yes. Yeah. Just again, I think it is just. I know people always say all the time. It's always like, but it is about learning how to light well and stuff. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily. But I do think that each camera, like that you shoot on, has its own kind of character. Yeah. Yes, you can massage it. You can turn it into something different. But the EOS-M, it forces you to really get hands-on.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what I loved so much about it. And I will as I start to delve into other cameras that do have autofocus. I'm looking at this at the moment, but as I said to you just before this, I went back and watched bits of Flower, and I was like, that image is so interesting and different.
Awesome.
So I will be forever indebted to that camera, I think.
Awesome.
There's a group of filmmakers and YouTubers like yourself that I think is so wonderful because it's not like the big industry stuff. Yeah. And because in the big industry stuff, I think there are certain ways that you have to do things. Yeah. You have to do it like this, you have to get this, But what's so cool about what we're doing is that it just feels so much more kind of like, to me, honestly, what like real filmmaking is, which is where you're playing with this stuff and this gear and you're experimenting and this kind of is interesting and different. And will it go to the Cannes Film Festival? Probably not. But like this, for me, is like, so much and I have to remind myself of this because of course I'm always then like, I need to make a film on an Alexa that will with an amazing colorist and it will get me into Cannes and stuff, but then just shooting a film with my mates on the EOS-M and then like coloring it myself, like it's more like process driven, do you know what I mean, than like some sort of big outcome Anyway, I just want to say that, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, AJ. So talking about flying high with AJ, we're going to look at some other guys now who are flying even higher. Let's go. The EOS-M isn't just a cinema camera, it's being used for all sorts of productions and stunt filming. My favourite amongst them is FPV drone.
Hello, my name's Chris Melvin and I'm an FPV drone pilot. Recently, I've been using a 5-inch freestyle quadcopter to carry the Canon EOS-M, running Magic Lantern 2.5K 10-bit RAW in a 2.35:1 crop ratio. My ISO set to 100, I'm able to achieve an unlimited record time. All shot through a 3.6mm Computar lens from an old CCTV video camera. This combination allows me to have an 11.8mm lens equivalent, getting me some fantastic wide-angle shots up in the air.
Most people, regardless of their camera, are scared of low light or search for the perfect noise-free image. That's not the case with our next guest, who has produced some fantastic low light footage and learned to embrace the imperfections to create some real engaging pieces.
Hello. I work as a television director for the Slovenian national television, but to promote my music I use Eos-M. I like this imperfection and slightly grittiness that really go along with the kind of music that I like to play. Enjoy the video and thanks.
I'm sure you'll agree that the Eos-M and Magic Lantern have come a long way, and I feel we're just getting started of what's achievable with this camera. From hardware to software, many exciting things have happened in the ML community over the years, and I feel that we're just getting started, and I can't wait to see where this goes in 2024. So until then, keep creating, and I'll see you next time. Later.
Wait, don't go yet. My name is Tom from Filmatura. I'm the designer and co-owner of the M-Lite, and I hope you've had a great year. We've been extremely busy fulfilling all of the existing pre-orders of the M-Lite, but it's been incredible to see all of the content, all of the feedback, and all of the builds that you guys have posted over at the Filmatura Facebook group. In case you're not part of that group, go join it now, because we actually made a little Christmas gift for all of you guys to download for free, and it's posted over there right now. There's some more good news. We're actually going to be doing another batch of the M-Lite, sometimes first quarter of 2024, right after all of the existing pre-orders are shipped and completed. So yeah, that's it from me. I hope you'll enjoy your holidays, and I hope you enjoyed this documentary. Take care. Bye.